They really thought we wouldn't notice. Shaduer Sanders, the most electrifying rookie in Brown's training camp, was dominating drills, stealing headlines, and turning practices into highlight reels. And then he vanished. No limp, no press release, no sideline footage, just a cold corporate phrase from the front office. He's dealing with something. That was it. In a league where even a rolled ankle gets its own Twitter thread and MRI report, the Browns gave fans nothing. Not an update, not a diagnosis, not a single frame of evidence that he was ever injured. And that's when the whispers started. Was this really an injury? Or was it something more calculated, more controlled? Because the timing wasn't just off, it was surgical. One day, Shaduer is outshining veterans, leading drills, getting mic'd up by the NFL. The next, he's erased. And if you think that's a coincidence, just wait. Because what's happening in Cleveland isn't just odd, it might be the wildest off-field move the NFL has seen this year. And if what fans and insiders are saying is true, this wasn't a precaution, it was sabotage. Let's break down how a rookie QB went from the future of the franchise to a ghost the team doesn't want you to find. For once, it wasn't hype, it was real. Cleveland, a city known more for heartbreak than hope, had finally found something to believe in. And it wasn't just belief, it was electricity. From the moment Shaduer Sanders walked into training camp, the atmosphere shifted. Not with arrogance, with purpose. He carried that same confidence he showed at Colorado, but now it was sharper, more controlled, and within minutes, everyone around him noticed. The first practice started like any other. Drills, reps, standard stuff. But as soon as the ball left his hand, the energy flipped. Every pass had zip, timing, precision. No panic in his dropbacks, no rookie jitters. Coaches paused, teammates whispered. Reporters scribbled down notes faster than usual. Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. It didn't take long before the buzz started spreading. Who is this kid? He looks like a starter. He's got something. Shaduer wasn't supposed to be that guy. He wasn't handed the keys. He was brought in to develop, sit behind veterans, play it safe. But from day one, he looked like he already belonged, like he wasn't waiting his turn. He was taking it. And the cameras caught all of it. Mic'd up on the second day, he was locked in no forced bravado, just calm leadership. Footage went viral of him, threading a 30-yard dart between two defenders during a full-speed rep, the kind of throw you don't expect from a rookie. Especially not one still learning the playbook. Media outlets started reshuffling their segments. Local reporters pushed back their interviews with veteran QBs to cover Shaduer instead. Fans who hadn't felt real excitement in years finally saw a glimpse of something different. Not just talent, but swagger. Not just mechanics, but mindset. And the veterans? They noticed too. Some laughed it off, others didn't. It's one thing to support the young guns, it's another to get outshined by one. Especially when the film doesn't lie. Every day he stepped on the field, Shaduer's stock rose. Every day the whispers got louder. Was this the Browns' future? Had they finally stumbled onto something rare, a poised, polished playmaker who could lead this franchise out of the mud? Fans dared to believe it. After years of false starts of Johnny Manziel chaos, Baker Mayfield noise, and a massive Deshaun Watson gamble, this felt different, cleaner, simpler, just football. And just when it felt like Cleveland might have finally struck gold, it all disappeared. No warning, no news, just silence. But the story didn't end. In fact, that's when it really began. Because what came next wasn't just suspicious. It smelled like a setup. One day, he was electrifying the field. The next, he was just gone. No warning, no update, no interview clip saying he was sore after practice. Nothing. Just complete, uncomfortable silence. At first, fans thought it was a mistake. Maybe he was just resting for the day rookie routine, no big deal. But by day 2, eyebrows started to raise. Then day 3 passed. Still no Shaduer. No photos, no quotes, no camera time. Forget limping, he wasn't even spotted on the sideline. And then came the official word from the team. Buried inside a recycled press, quote, "He's dealing with something," they said. That's it. Something. No shoulder strain, no tightness, no pulled this or aggravated that. In a sport where stubbed toes get injury tags and bruises lead to MRIs, the team gave fans a big fat mystery. NFL teams are usually cautious to a fault. They release injury timetables more carefully than stock reports. But with Shaduer, not only was there no report, there was no concern. Just a vague answer and a corporate smile. That's when the questions turned into accusations. See, what kind of injury doesn't make the report? Why is no one talking about this kid who just lit up half the defense 3 days ago? Where's the footage? Where's the news? More importantly, where is Shaduer? Because fans pay attention, and what didn't add up was the gap between what they saw and what they were being told. Just days before, he'd been launching strike after strike, calling audibles, showing next-level poise. There were literally zero signs of pain or issue. One moment, he was dominating drills. The next, scrubbed from the practice tape like he never existed. Even beat reporters, the ones who attend every session under a tent with a notebook full of formations, went strangely silent. No one asked the hard question. No one demanded answers. The ones who did, their tweets got buried, posts got deleted. Even local radio hosts started dancing around the topic like it was off limits. It felt coordinated. And that silence? It echoed louder than any excuse. Because in today's NFL, stars don't just disappear. You don't go from highlight reels to ghost stories overnight unless something deeper is going on. Fans know that. They've seen this pattern before. The mystery wasn't just suspicious, it felt strategic. Like someone was pulling strings behind the scenes. Like they didn't just want to rest him, they wanted to erase him. And the timing? Way too perfect. Shaduer's last dominant appearance? The day before the veterans looked completely outclassed in front of reporters. He was poised, mic'd up, dream scenario. And right after that, gone, replaced by carefully worded sound bites and precaution talk. Only one conclusion made sense. This wasn't rest, it was damage control. At first, the silence felt strange, but soon it started to feel personal. This wasn't just a missed update, it was a vanishing act. And the internet, it doesn't let those slide. Within 24 hours of Shaduer's disappearance, fans went full detective mode. Reddit threads lit up like crime scene investigation boards. Twitter turned into a 24/7 war room. Fans weren't just suspicious, they were obsessed. They grabbed every second of practice footage, slowed it down, zoomed in, and searched for anything. A limp, a flinch, a wince. Something. Anything. But there was nothing. Frame after frame, clip after clip, Shaduer looked locked in, healthy, and completely dialed. No sign of discomfort, no weird body language, no trainers looking concerned, just a rookie tearing up the field like he'd been in the league for years. And that's when it clicked for the die-hard fans. This wasn't just poor communication, it was too clean, too intentional. You don't go from throwing darts on Tuesday to dealing with something on Wednesday with zero explanation. Not in a billion-dollar league that tracks every breath players take. It wasn't just suspicious, it felt like a cover-up. And speculation started to spread like wildfire. Some fans believed the injury report was fake. Others claimed insiders were quietly told to back off the topic. A few even suggested the footage had been edited, that certain shots of Shaduer were removed after practice. And conspiracy or not, one thing was certain. The timing didn't make sense. Not when his disappearance happened immediately after he outplayed veteran QBs. Not when he'd just made headlines across Ohio for leading the best offensive stretch of camp. Not when his confidence and visibility were climbing faster than the team probably wanted. People started asking the uncomfortable question, was Shaduer too good? Because when rookies make noise in most cities, it's a good thing. Coaches build momentum. Front offices hype it up. But in Cleveland, productive rookies have a way of disappearing. So when reporters started dodging the topic and the team went quiet, fans filled in the blanks. They didn't need confirmation. They'd seen this movie before, and in Cleveland, it rarely has a happy ending. Podcasters jumped on it. YouTubers dropped hidden injury videos. There were live streams analyzing body language during his last media appearance. Some fans even tried using AI to scan his facial expressions during post-practice interviews. Seriously. And yet, the team held the line. He's fine. We're just being cautious. No timetable, but it's nothing serious. Every statement, the same vague, recycled nonsense. As if they were more afraid of what people might ask than what they might find. Because by that point, the story wasn't about his injury anymore. It was about what they were trying to hide, and fans were more than ready to find out. This isn't high school. And it's definitely not Colorado anymore. The NFL doesn't hand out praise unless you've earned it. And what Shaduer Sanders did during Brown's training camp? He didn't just earn it, he stole it. In just a few days, he went from unknown rookie to the most talked about name in Berea. Every throw cut like a knife. Every drill elevated the energy. While other rookies looked unsure, Shaduer looked unbothered, like it was already his team. And the veterans? They felt it. See, in most organizations, when a rookie pops off like that, it's exciting. Coaches lean in, QB's coach gets a raise, offensive coordinator talks about untapped potential. But in Cleveland, it set off alarms. Because there's a problem with a rookie who's too good too soon. He breaks the system. Suddenly, the backup with a fat contract looks expendable. The starter with a guaranteed deal starts sweating. The coordinator's script doesn't make sense anymore. And the front office? They're staring at appraisals, headlines, and PR angles they weren't prepared to manage. Shaduer wasn't just a rookie, he became a threat. Not because he was cocky, but because he was right. He didn't wait quietly. He didn't defer. He played like a guy who believed he belonged, not next year, now. And that confidence? It rippled through the locker room. Teammates responded to it. Receivers started gravitating toward him. Younger players asked what group he was working with. Even the media, jaded and usually numb to preseason noise, started realizing something serious might be brewing. But in a team like Cleveland, where structure, hierarchy, and pay-your-dues culture still rule, that kind of energy is dangerous. The Browns have been here before. Fresh faces, rearranging the depth chart. Fast-rising hype trains. And every time it happens too quickly, somebody pulls the brakes. It's not about distrust, it's about disruption. Because good rookies are manageable until they outperform expectations. At that point, it's not just about football, it's about optics. And a front office that recently handed out one of the most controversial, expensive quarterback contracts in NFL history, they can't afford competition. Not public competition. Not the kind of competition where the fifth-day rookie suddenly looks more composed than the guy eating $230 million in cap space. So, when Shaduer whipped through day 3 practice, scoring praise for every dropback, the message upstairs wasn't, "Get him more reps." It was, "Control this." And that's when everything changed. No more flexing on vets. No more cameras capturing him smile after hitting tight window throws. No more underdog noise spicing up press conferences. Because the Browns weren't panicking about his performance. They were panicking about what that performance meant and what it might threaten to expose. You don't just bench a breakout rookie after their best day of camp. Not without a reason, not without proof, and definitely not without a trail. But with Shaduer Sanders, there was none of that. No visible limp, no footage of him pulling up mid-rep, no injury report, just vague talk about tightness, as if that was cause enough to scrub the most exciting player from the field. And yet, that's exactly what the Browns did. One day, he's mic'd up and making magic the next, vanished with a single sentence. He's fine. Just being cautious. Cautious? Cautious of what, throwing too well? The explanation sounded like bad improv at a press conference. Rushed, robotic, almost too safe. And the more they repeated it, the worse it sounded. Fans weren't buying it, reporters weren't digging. And the Browns? They leaned in hard, doubling down on the mystery without offering any clarity. Not once, not even when the narrative spiraled into national headlines. No scans, no medical details, not even a fabricated day-to-day tag, just silence. And let's be honest, silence is rarely a neutral move in the NFL. It's a cover. Because the moment you ask, why aren't they talking about it? You already know the answer. They don't want to. That's when insiders started whispering. Not about soreness, not about legitimate injury concerns, but about something far more calculated. Rumors started to float that the front office was concerned about disrupting the quarterback hierarchy. That coaches didn't want the hype getting out of hand. That Shaduer's rise was causing tension not just in the media, but in the locker room. The theory? Simple and sinister. He wasn't being protected. He was being paused, silenced before it got out of control. Because when a rookie rises too fast, it forces everyone else to fall in line. And in Cleveland, a team already juggling headlines, expectations, and a $230 million controversy under center, they weren't about to let a fan-favorite rookie light that fuse. Not on their watch. So they did what insecure franchises do. They hid the spark before it became a fire. They wrapped it in vague language. They skipped the footage. And they layered it with just enough medical speak to throw off casual fans. But real fans aren't casual. They read between the lines. And what they saw wasn't caution. It smelled like control. Because talent isn't always welcomed in the NFL. Sometimes it's dangerous, especially when it shows up in a place where it wasn't supposed to work, and too early for the people trying to manage the story. So maybe this wasn't about soreness at all. Maybe it was about status. And someone, somewhere in that building, decided Shaduer Sanders was rising too fast, and it was time to pull the plug. Let's call it what it is. This wasn't about a sore arm. It wasn't even about a rookie moving too fast. This was about fear, raw, organizational fear, because in Cleveland, performance doesn't always come first. Status does. And that's the real injury no one wants to talk about. Inside that building, Shaduer Sanders wasn't just competing with quarterbacks. He was competing with history, a history soaked in insecurity, power struggles, and panic decisions disguised as strategy. When a young guy shows up and makes your veterans look replaceable, the issue isn't on the field, it's in the front office. The Browns have always had a complicated relationship with momentum. Every time something starts to click, someone behind the scenes hits pause. They freeze. Not because the moment is too big, but because they never built systems to handle success, only to survive chaos. Shaduer didn't fit that mold. He wasn't quiet. He wasn't deferential. He wasn't playing the wait your turn game. From the jump, he had the look of someone who belonged. Not in 2 years, not when the vets cleared out. Right now. And that's threatening when your entire organizational culture is built on controlling the timeline. Because in Cleveland, there's a pecking order, a fragile ecosystem, held together by contracts, caution, and egos. You're supposed to climb slowly, keep your head down, earn your licks in meaningless reps, and then maybe you get a shot. But Shaduer walked in like a franchise quarterback. And instead of celebrating that, Cleveland treated it like a virus one that could spread if they didn't act fast. And that's exactly what they did. They niched him as too green, slapped the precautionary label on him, blocked the media frenzy before it could bloom. Not to protect his health, but to protect the people above him. See, the Browns aren't new to dysfunction. They're veterans at it. This wasn't just a panicked response to training camp buzz, it was textbook Cleveland strategy. Feel threatened? Manage the optics. Not the roster. Not the locker room dynamic. Just the narrative. The rookie doesn't check the boxes? Hide him behind vague updates. Delay the excitement. Control the spark before it starts a fire. That's not caution. That's insecurity. And it runs deeper than just quarterback meetings. It bleeds into every corner of that franchise. Because when the system values control over talent, you never build dynasties. You just build headlines. Short-term fixes, long-term damage. And once again, the Browns chose fear over football. Fear of embarrassment. Fear of change. Fear that the guy they drafted for depth just might be too damn good. The Browns tried to quiet the noise, but in 2025, there is no quiet. Especially not when your fan base has been burned this many times before. At first, it was just confusion. A couple Reddit threads asking questions, a few posts wondering why one of the top-performing players in camp suddenly went dark, but confusion turned to suspicion. Suspicion turned into investigation. And then, things exploded. Twitter, or what's left of it, lit up. Number Free Shaduer started trending in Ohio. Soon it was national. Browns forums turned into digital crime scenes, dissecting press conferences like they were FBI interrogations. Fans weren't theorizing anymore, they were digging. They combed through every inch of camp footage in 0.25x speed like digital detectives, desperately looking for a limp, a smirk from a coach, a mistimed tweet, anything that could explain what happened to Shaduer Sanders. But the more they looked, the more obvious it became. There was nothing, not even a hint of injury, no slowed down throws, no trainers talking to him, no tape, no crutches. It was like he got Thanos snapped out of the building. And while the Browns fed the press carefully worded phrases like, "We're just being cautious," fans weren't accepting it. Not this time. Not after decades of being gaslit by bad football, worse decisions, and front offices that couldn't get out of their own way. They'd seen this movie before, only this time it felt personal, because Shaduer represented hope. And the team? They just tried to bury it. Content creators jumped into the fire. YouTubers dropped frame-by-frame breakdowns. Podcast hosts built whole episodes around the disappearance. Even a former NFL player went live saying, "I've been around stuff like this when a rookie starts trending too fast. Teams get nervous." Suddenly, Shaduer wasn't just a rookie. He was a symbol. And the more the Browns tried to deny, deflect, and downplay the story, the louder the noise got. Precaution turned into a meme. Reporters started asking sharper questions. Shows like Undisputed, Pat McAfee, even ESPN segments began headlining the situation. Not just where is Shaduer Sanders, but what is Cleveland hiding? And every time Cleveland refused to give a straight answer, things got worse. The fans were watching too closely now. They weren't just angry, they were organized. Posts went viral. You can't fake an injury in the age of cameras. This isn't caution, it's control. Let him play. Even die-hard team pages that had defended the franchise through everything started turning on the front office. Because if Shaduer was truly just resting, then why did it feel like a disappearance? And more importantly, what were they afraid he'd do if they let him back on the field? Whatever it was, fans were determined he'd do it anyway. The Browns thought they could outweight the story. Keep pushing the precaution line. Let the media cycle move on. It had worked before, right? But this time, it backfired spectacularly. Because the more they tried to bury Shaduer Sanders, the more unstoppable he became. Every clip of him dropping dimes at camp resurfaced. Every mic'd-up moment where he owned the huddle went viral again. Even old interviews from college got reposted with captions like, "This is the guy they're hiding." The Browns had tried to dim the spotlight. Instead, they accidentally made him the storyline. What started as a slow news day mystery spiraled into a national reckoning. Suddenly, everything about the injury felt like a metaphor for Cleveland's dysfunction, for its culture problems, and for the way this franchise has consistently gotten in its own way. And the worst part? They could have leaned into it. They had a promising rookie with charisma, talent, and rare command. A kid who could have brought a fractured team and exhausted fan base back to life. All they had to do was let him cook. Instead, they hit pause. Why? Because letting Shaduer shine, letting him truly compete, risked exposing the worst-case scenario for this front office, that the $230 million face of the franchise might not be the best QB in the building. They weren't protecting Shaduer's body. They were protecting their investment, their egos, their control. But here's the irony. In trying to silence him, they gave him a bigger microphone. They turned a quiet preseason standout into a national movement. And now, they can't outrun the truth. Because we're not in 2003 anymore. You can't fake injuries and expect people not to dig. There are too many eyes, too many angles, too many fans who no longer take your word at face value. The Browns tried to shut down a story. What they did instead was expose themselves. In the end, this wasn't just about a missing rookie. It was about what happens when a franchise fears change more than failure. And if the Browns had hoped to quiet the hype, they've only turned up the volume. Because now the world is watching. And every day, Shaduer stays sidelined. Every press conference dodged, every vague update dropped. It only raises one question louder. What are they so afraid of? Stars don't disappear. Leaders don't get hidden behind jargon. And real talent doesn't just rest. So now, it's up to the fans. The ones who saw through the spin, who connected the dots, who refused to let another Cleveland cover-up slide under the radar. Because when enough people stop believing the illusion, the truth becomes the only thing left. And for the Browns, that truth might burn brighter than the secret they tried to keep buried.